Well, Tim, first of all, I'd just like to get your thoughts on the game last night between Argentina and Croatia.
I thought it was incredible. I think probably the first thing that comes to mind is the fans. I was lucky enough to be sitting in a nice area where I could be close to the fans and listen to them singing all night. I had an experience with Australia losing where it was tough, but seeing the passion of the fans was very special. But also, I think Croatia were unlucky. You know, when you look at the first half, they dominated the game, possession, obviously didn't have many shots on goal, but Argentina were just smart. They played to their strengths. They hit on transition, won a penalty, scored, obviously Messi, and then the second goal was from a corner from Croatia, again hitting on transition. So they were dangerous, and they played to their strengths, and in the end they won. But I also think the fans played a massive role, and for Messi, he was exceptional with that third goal. It was really nice to be a fan and take in that experience, but Argentina are definitely the team to beat at the moment.
And just obviously, there's such a debate around the greatest of all time, and Messi versus Maradona, Messi versus Ronaldo. He's had an incredible time. Where does he rank for you in terms of the all-time greats?
I think as an all-time great, to be called that is an honour within itself, but they all have their place. You know, to say that one is better than the other is difficult because it's different generations, different teams. You have to put context into the situation that comparing all the time becomes tedious, in my opinion, because I think you have to enjoy the player of what he's done domestically, internationally, and I'm not sure it's on how much you've won, because different players in different teams with different squads, some teams are weaker, some teams are stronger. One of the nicest things about Messi in this World Cup is it's been about the collective, the manager. Obviously he shines at the right time, but I think he'll be the first to say how important his teammates are into doing everything around him, giving him the opportunity to be able to be in that position to score. And not to take anything away from him, he is one of the greatest of all time. But I don't know whether it's right to put them all in ranking system off opinion, because I think we can be here forever working on the statistics, the metrics, and then really breaking it down. You can't break down some of the best players in the world, and to put Maradona and Messi, you know, who is higher, who is lower, it's not fair. But why can't you just put them next to each other all the way up there where they belong?
We're talking about it as well. Fans need to be mentioned as well, enjoying players for what they are. How nice was it yesterday when Modric came off and he was replaced and he got around with the ball for the entire season?
Modric on his own is probably one of the greatest footballers as well. With inside that squad and what he's created, Croatia have always been there or thereabouts in the big competitions. And he's played a massive role. You've seen the masterclass that he did against Brazil. Single-handedly helped to orchestrate beautiful football, but also be composed enough throughout the game to get them back into it. And also to be a leader. I think he'll be very upset because I think deep down, this Argentinian team were beatable. You know, this is not their strongest squad. And on paper, when you look at their results, there hasn't been games where they've absolutely dominated games. Other than last night against the run of play, the scoreline is quite flattering. But it's one of those ones where Modric would have thought in his head that this is the time that Croatia could get to the final and potentially do something special. So I felt really sad for him because he's one of my favourite players. He's a quiet achiever, but one of the most complete footballers as well, that's played in many leagues around the world and played at the highest level and really contributed to football domestically and internationally.
Absolutely. Just looking ahead, I mean, to the final, you mentioned earlier on Argentina, you think they're the team to beat. Are they your favourites now to go on with it?
I think when you talk about fans and you talk about Messi, the form that he's in and the squad, I think it's really good to see what the manager's done with using every single squad player and giving them some game time to keep the energy and the team together. And that togetherness is very difficult to break, but the passion really shines through with the supporters. Will I say they're favourites? Possibly because of their fans, but with France and Morocco, everyone wants to see that amazing story of Morocco to continue on this journey that they've deserved to be on, and it's been incredible. But to beat France will be a massive feat, and current holders. It's very difficult to call anything in this World Cup with all the upsets.
Obviously, you played in very few countries during your career. Played in England a hell of a long time as well. What did you make of their campaign, and what do you make of the current debate over whether Gareth Southgate should continue or not? It's his decision.
I thought their campaign was fantastic. I thought this was probably the most realistic World Cup for them to win, with how compact this World Cup has been, and also the time of year suited England. You know, players have played in roughly 20 games plus, coming from the Premier League, flying here 6.5 hours, no jet lag, setting up camp, not moving. Their base was very comfortable. The players that they had, attacking wise, was exceptional. Defensively, they were really good as well. They dominated France. First 20 minutes, they were under the pump, but when you look at the game across a whole, it's small margins, you know, that define a team. And unfortunately for England, they fell short. But it wasn't because they weren't good enough. It was just because that's just the way the game went. And I still think that they were one of the strongest squads inside the tournament, along with Brazil as well. But for Gareth Southgate, I think for any manager taking over this young group of players is going to be successful, because the next squad, with the age of Foden, Grealish, Maddison, Raheem Sterling, it's frightening really when you look at it. Actually, they've already gone now as one of the top 3 favourites for the next tournament before they've even been kicked out of this tournament. So I think with Gareth, it's whether or not they're going to go through that slow process journey, or whether they're going to get a bit creative and think, you know what, let's get someone that's a little bit more, maybe more attacking, more. But you can't fault Gareth for his efforts. Fantastic, very composed manager. And the hardest thing within football is, well, the easiest thing is to say, I would have done this, or this should have happened, or that. And that's something that managers have to deal with. But will they refresh it? Probably. If they don't, will it be a negative towards the national team? It won't, because he knows the setup. He's worked with a group of players. You don't get many camps a year, and the players are not together often enough, but they have the Premier League, which keeps them together, and they know what they have. So it depends on their direction. I'm not sure whether that 10-year cycle is finished of what they talked about at the start in that journey. Maybe it's up, and maybe it'll be a new cycle, 2026. But is it exciting for England? I think, yeah, massively exciting.
The excitement as well for another nation who played in the United States as well. They had an encouraging campaign. Is everything in place there? Obviously, you've seen the MLS and how that's grown. You've seen the infrastructure and all that they have over there. Absolutely incredible. Have they got all the components required to compete in 2026?
Look, I'm lucky enough to live in Qatar and see the growth and the delivery of this World Cup and be a part of it as an executive, and also as an ambassador, and also as a fan. When you look at this World Cup, you see how connected everyone is. You see 2-3 games in a day. You see logistically it's been unbelievable. You see the stadiums. You see the state of the art. The one thing for me is I've never seen better training facilities ever. I played in 4 World Cups. The high performance, the detail, the fan experience, the stadium experience, the fan zones, the events, the acts. As much as going into the detail when you go into camp, I manage the Australian national team as head of delegation. And when you come inside, the coffee shop, players' lounge, the training pitches you can play golf on. You know, one of the training pitches, FIFA standard, was, replicated of one of the stadiums we played at. So the level of detail, they have the facilities, they have the infrastructure. Now you're talking about airports. Now you're talking about population. Now you're talking about getting to games. I've been to 20 games. I know for a fact I won't be able to go to 20 games across 3 countries. It'll be a different flavour, it'll be different, so many different things. So The experience of this World Cup, for me, after playing in 4, has been one of the best. As a player, when you ask the players, which is what the most important thing is in a World Cup, what was your experience like as a player, on and off the park? But first, on the park. From landing at the airport. Then you say the same thing to the fans. And then you have that understanding that you're like, okay, this is the levels that they need to reach to and the standards that FIFA have created for hosting a World Cup are very high. And it's been a very connected World Cup because this is sort of like the center. You know, Australia's only 15 hours, certain parts of America's 15 hours, India's around the corner, Europe's around the corner, England, South America. So you've seen how amazing it is, and you've seen full stadiums. And it will be for this next World Cup, but like every World Cup, spotlight's now on 3 other countries. You know, we can sit back now and enjoy an amazing country that has MLS, has massive footballers playing within the league, and a destination where everyone loves to go to as well within inside those 3 nations.
You mentioned the tournament as well, it's been a success, and it's so centralised, fantastic to begin with. As well as the football, have you seen a more competitive and a more diverse, when you look at the success of teams, you know, 8 teams in Japan, and you look at Morocco, as you said, you mentioned the fairy tale. It's been an incredible World Cup in that sense.
It's been incredible because this is home for the Middle East, this is home for also Africa, this is home. You know, this is home for Asia. We play here for the last 10 years, Australia, Japan, Korea, we qualify in this region. When you host an Arab Cup and you see the passion for football, I think people don't really realise the passion in this region for the game, the investment in this region for the game, not only here but in neighbouring countries. And just because you're not the best at it doesn't mean you can't be a participant. Football's dominated by Europe, dominated by South America. Even the history shows that that's who wins all the tournaments. But to be able to host over 600 events from 2010 till now shows that there's been a real purpose to try and deliver the best on and off the park, the experience. So has it been a fair World Cup? Yeah, for sure it has. Because everyone's had 7 training sessions leading into this World Cup. Has the schedule and the timing been affected? In my opinion, no. It's actually helped the European teams. It's a World Cup where, when I played in 4 World Cups, I'd finish the season, some seasons 50 games, some seasons 30, maybe more. I'd have a 2-week break, and then I'd come back in and do a mini pre-season and be fatigued, mentally, physically, and know that you have to get up for the biggest show on earth. So all these elements is something that I look to, and seeing Morocco where they're at now, people say, what a journey, what a story. Hang on, let's go deeper. Let's go into the investment from their higher management and their leadership. Let's go into the infrastructure of their academies. Let's go into their talent identification program. Let's go into the grassroots. Let's really appreciate properly instead of being emotional and saying, oh, how lucky are they? Not so lucky because they're investing. You know, so African football, Asian football, this region, I think people are really now, like, you don't know until you come here and you see it and you feel it and you're part of it. You're like, hey, I'm coming back to Qatar. I'm going to bring my family. I've really enjoyed it. It's the safest country in the world. It's been amazing, the hospitality, the culture, the food, the experience. And so I think that's what part of the legacy is the way people leave here and appreciate the level of detail of what's gone on at this World Cup. And the upsets have been incredible, but for Asia, Japan, Korea, Saudi Arabia, Australia, I couldn't be prouder.